Well, hello, everybody. Drew Bledsoe here. Been invited to come talk to you all about leadership a little bit today, which is a pretty interesting topic to me. First, I think you should know that I was actually a Cub Scout back in the day. I didn't make it all the way to Boy Scouts. I was I had retired before I got that far, but it was an amazing experience. So good on you guys for being a part of scouting and keep it up, man. It's an important thing, especially today. So leadership, leadership's a pretty interesting topic for me. I was put in some really interesting positions at some young ages. I took over as the quarterback of the Washington State Cougars when I was just 18. And then all of a sudden I was drafted into the NFL when I was 21. So all of a sudden I had to go be a leader for, some grown-ups. And I was still felt like I was still just a kid. Um, but I think one of the things that's important to look at when you're talking about leadership is what do great teams look like? Whether that's a scouting team, whether it's a football team, whether it's a business, whether it's a drama club. What do great teams have in common? And I picked three things that I think are important, to all of the good teams that I've been around. Um, One is adaptability, and this one's been really important for all of us in the last couple years, where the whole world has changed and seems like it changes sometimes on a daily basis. The great teams I've been a part of have been adaptable. In football, that means you've got to adapt to weather. You've got to adapt to one of your best players getting injured. You've got to adapt to a defense you didn't see coming. You've got to adapt to all kinds of different things. And the best teams that I was a part of were able to be adaptable quickly. And that's the same has been true in our wine business. Now that I'm out of football and into the business world, we have to be able to adapt to things as they change. Whether that's something that Mother Nature throws at us, or whether it's a pandemic like we lived through this last year. We have to be able to adapt and overcome and find ways to succeed in spite of whatever adversity we might face. The second thing that's been important to all of the great teams that I've been a part of, it's attention to detail and understanding that there are no such thing as small details. There are only details, and every single thing you do matters. In football, that means if I'm handing the ball off, that seems really simple. All I got to do is just hand it to this guy. Well, if I hand it to him and it's too high, it's his pads, he could fumble. If it's too low, he may not get his hand on it. And so something that seems as simple as just doing that, or just taking a snap from the center where he's just giving you the ball to start the play. It's kind of taken for granted, but if you don't get those little things right, then you never have a chance to do the big things. So all the teams I've been a part of, and that's certainly true in the business that we're in now, where you've got to have attention to detail in the vineyard. Everything's got to be just right in the vineyard, and then your winemaking process is extremely important, and then how you interact with your customers at the end of the day is really, really important. So all of those details are hugely, hugely important. And then the last thing that's very, very important in every successful team I've been a part of is personal accountability. And what does that mean to me? Well, what it means to me is, what do you do when nobody's looking? Right? Nobody's watching. What are you doing? When it was football, that meant that when I was by myself, when I was not at the facility, when I was on vacation, that I was still working out. I was taking care of my body, making sure I was eating the right things, making sure I was doing the right things to be ready for a football season. With our wine business, man, there are a lot of times where everybody in our company is left by themselves. And what do they do when they're left by themselves? Are they still paying attention to the little details when nobody's watching? So that personal accountability piece is really, really important. So now leadership, right? So that's what a team looks like. What does a leader look like? And this is a really important question. It's actually something that I've thought a lot about, and we've talked a lot about within our company now. But first of all, I think you have to start with some important questions. What makes an effective leader, right? What kind of things make an effective leader? Well, there are a few things that to me that are really, really important. Number one, you've got to walk the walk first. You can't ask other people to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. When I was a quarterback for NFL teams, that meant that I always had to be the first one in. So when they got to work, they saw my car in the parking lot. And then when they left to go home, my car was still there. So they knew I was putting in the time even more than they were. If I was going to be their leader, I had to put in the extra work. It means standing up and accepting responsibility when things don't go right. If you're a leader, you can't be a leader and then go say, well, the team screwed up, so that's why it didn't work out. No, you stand up and say, you know what, I didn't do my part today. That's why we didn't do well. And in our business, that's the same thing. You know, we encourage all of our teammates. Mistakes happen. We all make mistakes. I make a lot of them. I promise. You want to go look at my stats? Go look at how many interceptions I threw. It was a lot. Um, but when you make a mistake, you have to be accountable for that, and you have to be accountable to yourself, and you have to be accountable to your team. And the faster you stand up and say, you know what, I didn't do well today. That was my fault. The faster you stand up and say that, rather than trying to shift the blame to somebody else, if you just stand up and say, you know what, I screwed up, I'm going to be better tomorrow. The sooner you do that, the faster you can move forward, and you'll also get a lot of respect from the people that you're trying to lead. Uh, One of my favorite quotes, and I believe it was attributed to Benjamin Franklin, but it was a quote that was shared with me by General Mattis, who was our Secretary of Defense for the United States. I read it; it's in his book. But it's a very simple statement of how to lead. And the quote is this: if you're going to lead, you listen first, then you learn, then you help, and if those things don't fix the problem, then you lead. Then you tell somebody what to do. And I think it's really, really important. Those first two pieces, the listen and learn pieces, are extremely important, because sometimes when you're trying to be a leader, you immediately want to present the answer, but you might not even completely, totally understand the problem. And so that's where you have to listen and ask questions and learn and listen and learn. And then once you get all the information, then you try to help, right? Then you try to help. And if that doesn't get it done, then you can give direction and give orders. So there you go. Listen, learn, help, then lead. Okay. And then the last one, and I'm going to leave this kind of open-ended for you guys to determine in your own lives. The last one is this: if you're going to be a leader, you need to try to be the kind of person that people want to follow, right? And so what does that mean, right? Well, look at your own life. Look at people that you admire. Look at people that you want to be around on a regular basis, whether that's your parents or a teacher or a coach or your scout leader, or somebody in your church, but whoever it is, these people that you really like to spend time around, that you want to be with. What kind of things do they have in common? And I'm going to leave that up to you. You go look at those people in your life that are important to you. Look at what they have, look at what they do, how they treat you, how they treat other people, and then you try to emulate that and model that. Sure wish I could be with you in person. Hopefully these things will get back to normal soon and we can be together in person. But I'm going to wrap it up there, and I've got some great questions that came in over YouTube, so I'm going to answer those for you. And I hope I get everybody's name right.